Assemblymember Jones.
Thank you. Mr Mayor, I'm so happy that you are supporting Steve's ideas on river restoration. I think this is absolutely brilliant.
I didn't know they were Steve's ideas, but I support
I thought you gave him
ideas.
credit. Well, he can take the credit, that's fine. And you mentioned Pearly, for example.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you meant Stephen Knight. Steve O'Connell. Of course I know this, absolutely. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I've forgotten there were two Steves. Yes, Steve O'Connell.
You appointed,
right.
your Labour on your immediate right, and I thought you were I couldn't understand why you meant Steve.
Yeah, let's concentrate.
Sorry.
I wonder if you know that there are currently 63 projects ready to go in London to do exactly this sort of thing, to actually to naturalise rivers, you know, take them out of the concrete culverts, as you mentioned. And these 63 projects just need a push.
Well, I'm very supportive of these schemes, as you know, and whenever I get planning proposals which involve the deculverting of rivers, and they often come before me, our planning teams are very, very strongly motivated to support them and to encourage that. As you know, the big wins, I think, are really to be found in the Wandle is a huge project which would be absolutely fantastic if it could be.
You talked about doing
perfected.
something, but you didn't actually talk. You didn't give us any detail about what you might be doing. That's the thing.
Well, I think I mentioned several schemes that we are supporting, and there is already, as I mentioned, through the Help of London Park scheme, 3 river restoration projects that we are supporting, and we will seek future opportunities to support other such schemes. I'm a strong believer in this.
I'm really happy about that. The thing is that this is a relatively cheap way to protect a lot of people from flooding here in London, and it might be useful if you allocated a bit more money in your budget, because you talk about jobs and growth. It's very difficult for businesses. If they get flooded out, it's going to cost them a fortune, and growth is going to be very difficult. So actually river restoration is one of the ways to protect London from flooding.
Well, I mean, Jenny, can I propose, we already are supporting river restoration wherever we can. We've got several projects that are on the go at the moment. If you've got some more detail about areas where you think, you know, with cost efficiency, we could make a difference, then bring them to us, and we will certainly look at it through the budgets that we have.
When you say bring them to us, who do you mean? Who should I go to?
In the first instance, you go to Matthew Penchard's,
right.
but you know, clearly I'll have a look at them.
Does that mean that you might allocate more money? For example, the £9 million that you're talking about going to Outer London.
Well, you say it's cheap. I'll have a look at it. You say it's cheap. I mean, we'll see.
Relatively, if you think about the damage that flooding does to businesses, to land, to parks, to animals.
Yes,
and
I mean, it would be, just to be absolutely clear, this Outer London Fund money, round 3 of the Outer London Fund, is there for all sorts of purposes. I don't want it. I want to be explicit. I don't want it simply swallowed up by the current emergency, and we'll make sure that it isn't. But I do think that we have funding in place to deal with the current problems. We certainly have the funding in place to deal with the current problems. The issue you specifically raised about deculverting rivers and exposing wonderful habitats again, which we all support, I'm very keen on. If we can find cost-effective ways of doing it, if you can produce some projects that are
we
cheap.
have a list. I don't know if they're cheap. They're cheaper than flooding.
If they're cheap, and if they're effective, then I'm certainly interested in them. I'm getting Barrett from my right, Mr. Chair, with a suggestion that we should deculvert the Thames. I just want to point out that would be the worst thing we could possibly do. Since it is the walls of the Thames that were built up in the 19th century, and indeed in the 20th century, that have actually enabled London to survive. What was inundation so badly.
That wasn't. I don't think Assemblymember Jones had ever asked you to deculvert the Thames. You are using her time to answer a question she didn't put.
Can you possibly?
Right, Assemblymember Biggs, can you be quiet about deculverting and let Jenny Jones continue with her questions? Thank you.
What I'm really asking, Mr. Mayor, is will you allocate more money? Because you talked about the present emergency or the present crisis, but actually this is something that can happen year after year from now on. This is potentially the new normal. All these freakish weather events caused by climate change could be the new normal. You need to actually plan for the future. And this sort of scheme is a very, very cost-effective way of protecting London.
Absolutely, and I think one of the interesting things that about this whole cataclysm, or the series of very severe storms that we've seen, is it really justifies the immense providence of the people who put in the Thames Barrier, and it shows the vital importance. It shows the vital importance of thinking, and I agree with that, by the way, of thinking long, opened under a Tory government, but I have to say started under Labour government. It shows the vital importance of thinking about the long term and building infrastructure that is capable of coping with the scale of future demand. And that is where I see us really failing in so many other areas.
Thank you. The Green Group are now out of time.